anything in the real world? No, we cannot. And the reason we cannot have an infinite number of anything is for the following reasons. And take the following examples into consideration. Example number one. Say you have an infinite number of people in this room. If I take 2 people away, how many people do I have left? An infinite number of people. But does that make sense? No. Example number 2. Say I have 100 balls in this room, and I continue to add balls at every moment. So I'm adding more balls in this room. Will I ever reach an infinite number of balls? No, because I could always add another ball. Excellent. Example number 3. Take the distance between myself and the camera lady. This distance is an actual distance. We can traverse this distance, we can walk this distance. However, we can split this distance up into infinite parts. We could divide it constantly. But the point is, we can't say we will actually do it. We would actually divide that distance in an infinite amount of parts, because we can always be dividing the parts to potential infinity. So essentially what this means is that the infinite is never actual, it's always potential. In light of this, the mathematicians Kasman and Newman, they say the infinite certainly does not exist in the same way as we say there are fish in the sea. And the German mathematician David Hilbert, he says, the infinite is nowhere to be found in reality. It neither exists in nature nor provides a legitimate basis for rational thought. The role that remains for the infinite to play is solely that of an idea. But brothers and sisters and friends, past events are not just ideas, they are real things. Therefore, our history cannot be infinite. It must have been finite. That's why the leading cosmologists and philosophers of science such as Ellis, Kirchner and Stoger, they say, can there be an infinite set of really existing universes? We suggest that on the basis of well-known philosophical arguments, the answer is no. So there must have been a beginning, because the infinite, as the philosophers say, has no ontological export into the real world. Which basically means we cannot export the idea of the infinite and superimpose it on reality. It's nowhere, for the examples that we've just elaborated. Now, this is also supported by astrophysical evidence. Astronomy, physics. Now, we all have heard of the Big Bang. Everyone's heard of the Big Bang? And I assure you it's not the thing that you have after too many curries. Yeah? I do apologize for my British humor, yeah? So, physical time and space were created at that moment of the Big Bang, and matter and energy were also created. This is why the 4 prominent scientists, J. Richard, James E. Gunn, and David N. Schramm, and Beatrice M. Tinley, they describe the event of the Big Bang as follows. And they say, the universe began from a state of infinite density. Space and time were created in that event, and so was all matter in the universe. However, what does infinite density actually mean in the English language? Well, according to some scientists, it actually means nothing. This is why the Cambridge astronomer, Fred Hoyle, he states that the universe, at a point in the past, was shrunk down to nothing at all. But brothers and sisters and friends, what does that really mean? It actually means that the Big Bang model requires us to believe that something was created out of nothing. But out of nothing, nothing comes. Even atheists recognize this. The famous philosopher David Hume, what does he say? He says, I never asserted to absurd proposition as that anything might arise without a cause. Similarly, the philosopher P.J. Swart, in his publication About Time, he says, if there is anything we find inconceivable, is that something could arise out of nothing. So there must have been a cause to the universe by rational necessity. However, what is the nature of this cause? We have to do what we would call a conceptual analysis to find out what this cause is. Now I would argue from a rational and thinking man's perspective that this cause must be one. The reason being because the philosophical view of Occam's razor, which enjoins us not to posit causes beyond necessity, would argue that the most simplest explanation is that this cause is one. Why say three? Why say five? It's almost an irrational proposition to add more than one. Two, it must be uncaused. As we've discussed the absurdity of an infinite regress. Because if we say what caused the cause of the universe, then we could continue to say what caused the cause of the universe. Then we can continue to say what caused the cause that caused the cause that caused the cause of the universe. Then we continue to say what caused the cause that caused the cause that caused the cause. And we could be here forever. And therefore there was no effect. There was no universe in the first place. So rational necessity states that it must be uncaused. Three, it must be immaterial, beyond creation, because it created matter. And the universe is the sum of all matter. Therefore it must be unlike its creation. Four, it must be eternal, without beginning nor end, as non-eternal things are subject to decay and are part of the material world. And since this cause is not part of the material world, therefore it's not subject to decay, therefore it has the attribute of being eternal. Five, and this is most significant, that this cause must be a personal agent. It must have a personality, which is very important, because think about this. How can an eternal cause bring into effect something that is finite like the universe? It must have chosen the universe to come into existence. And another way to understand this is to familiarize ourselves with non-material realities that we know of. And one of them is abstract objects like numbers. But the concept of numbers or logical truths do not bring anything into effect. So what's the other non-material reality? Minds. It's a non-material reality. But lift your right hand. So it does bring things into effect. So a non-material reality that is eternal, that brought into existence a finite effect, must have a personality. So we can easily conclude that a transcendental cause, that is one, that has a personality, bring the universe into existence. So we could summarize the argument as follows. One, whatever begins to exist has a cause. Two, the universe began to exist. Three, therefore the universe has a cause. And this is best summarized by the book of the Muslims, the Quran. The Quran says, or do they think creation came out of nothing? Or were they the creators themselves? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Nay, they have no firm belief. So that's the first argument. The second argument is that God makes sense of the existence of objective morals, objective ethics, objective morality. Put your hand up if you believe that genocide is objectively 100% wrong. Very good. People of conscience in this room. Congratulations. Yeah? So, put your hand up if you believe that killing innocent children is morally wrong. Everybody believes this. Okay. Now what I mean by objectively morally wrong is that if, for example, I'm a madman, yeah? I'm a guy who has a problem and I want to kill all women, yeah? And if I were to take over the whole world and brainwash all the guys and make them think that it's okay to kill women for no reason, then it would still be morally wrong, regardless of human consensus. This is what I mean by objective. It's wrong. Khalas, as the Arabs say. Full stop. There's no question. Objective, regardless of human consensus. Now, this can only be the case if God exists. Think about it. This can only be the case if God exists, because God is the only objective anchor that transcends human subjectivity. It's the only conceptual anchor that transcends human subjectivity. Think about this. Because if we take God out of the picture, there's only two possible sources for the foundations of our morality. And these include evolution or biology, and social pressure.